Globalist influence in Melbourne City Council. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian Heiser here, and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from, well, not really this article, this website from the United Nations. Now, this was pointed out to me by a viewer going, Melbourne's a strong city, you need to look into this. And, well, look at it. We've got International Women's Day. We've got Mayor Sadiq Khan of London. New fund to counter hate in London. I mean, he's defunding the police over there. Knife crime is going rampant in London. You have people who have fled from Africa as refugees, now sending their children back out of London because it's safer. It's safer. I did a video on that a couple of years ago. I mean, London's lost. So, I mean, let's have a look at just the cities of who are in this the strong cities. Here's the strong cities network. You can see here cities all throughout Africa, all throughout Europe and the United States, a few in Asia, none in Russia. Eastern Europe seem to be, too smart for this. And Australia, we have Melbourne in Victoria. Oh, so sorry, not just Melbourne. The whole state is part of the Strong Cities program, apparently. So what are they? Let's have a look. Let's click on About here. So, launched at the United Nations in September 2015, the Strong Cities Network, SCN, is the first ever global network of mayors, municipal-level policymakers and practitioners united in building social cohesion and community resilience to counter violent extremism in all its forms. Why Sadiq Khan can even dare to show his face at an organization that is pushing for this is ludicrous, considering what he's all done over there. Led by ISD and comprised of more than 140 cities across 45 countries, the SCN builds collaboration between mayors, political actors, and frontline teams to tackle polarization, hate, and violence in local communities in every major global region. So is this why you've got council funding to ban certain books in Victoria? Is this why you have funding to have, people performing in front of children in libraries? Is this why you have all of these crazy, reading things and all these other just social justice garbage coming out of Victoria and coming out of, Melbourne City Council? And should council, which is the level of government that is closest to the people, should they be even concerned with these type of things? Shouldn't they be focusing on more day-to-day operations, more ensuring that the money that they are forcing from people in the rates that they're taking is spent wisely and used efficiently and not friddled away on programs? Is that such a radical idea? Are we getting a bunch of civil servants and bureaucrats heading over to the United Nations Strong Cities event and feeling so proud and important of themselves? And they don't need to worry about all these other little plebeian issues, like keeping the roads clean, collecting the garbage, keeping traffic flowing. And they're the kind of things you want your council to work on. Keeping the parks clean and orderly, and ensuring the playground equipment is safe and readily available. No. They've got to spend money and go on to these type of things. I think it really is to make people feel more important. So, the network catalyzes, inspires, and multiplies community-centric approaches and actions to counter violent extremism through peer learning and expert training. It operates with a set of fundamental principles agreed by all members that protect and promote human rights and civil liberties in all aspects of its work to prevent violent extremism. Human rights and civil liberties. In Victoria, is this why Victoria has their human rights charter that they've implemented that they can just get out of whenever they need to? Is this why? So it shows you, you can go to these things. Just imagine all the people we flew around to this type of rubbish. All the Melburnian money and Victorian money that was wasted on this. Oh, now we've got a human rights charter. Everyone feels good. They tap themselves on the back. Oh, look at this. We want to restrict people's rights. Let's just put these clauses here, get this omnibus bill through. Done. Don't worry about it. She'll be right, mate. It's all good. So why are cities important? The risk of violent extremism across racial, ideological, political, and religious motivations is a concern for families, communities, and governments. Across the world, cities are on the front line of building resilience to violent extremism. The SCN recognizes that cities are uniquely positioned to safeguard their city citizens from polarization and radicalization through partnerships with local communities. Mayors and municipal level policymakers must work closely with their communities to identify and address the methods used by violent extremists to recruit, radicalize, and mobilize targeted individuals. Okay, well, I don't have much confidence that they can do this on a city level. Remember when Sadiq Khan said, the poster boy of this bloody organization on the front, he said, what was it, terrorism is just a part of life now in a modern city? Why the hell is he involved in this organization? How can he even... Look, it's because he's paying money. Because he's paying money. It's press. Look at them all feeling important, like they're doing something. And this is just... and this is the problem. This is the problem. One way to deal with it, one way to deal with all of this, free speech. You need to allow people to openly criticize the extremist parts of other cultures, other groups, other religions in public without fear of being prosecuted. But we don't have that anymore in Australia. Free speech is pretty much gone. You've got the Human Rights Charter. You've got all these anti-discrimination charters, where if you just criticize a particular group that has protection status, well, you could lose your house, you could get sued, you could go, they'll be funded by the government to to sue you, to take you to court. That's the problem, everyone. If you're concerned about certain aspects of other groups, it needs to be called out in public. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, everyone. Free speech is the best way to address this extremism. People should be shamed. Stupid ideas should be brought to light. Aspects of culture which are primitive and outdated need to have attention drawn to them. If you can't have... they're just afraid of people going, violent and extreme, but what do you expect when you have different cultures and religions and ideologies coming together? There is going to be conflict until merging occurs. I still think the most effective method to deal with all of this, and I think they've figured it out, is just to stick everyone in huge debt mortgages for life. That'll make all people nice, compliant, because they're afraid. They've got something to lose. So, a growing number of cities and other subnational authorities across the world have developed or are interested in developing local prevention and intervention programs that build social cohesion and resilience against other forms of violent extremism. Oh, I've got a way to do it as well. Free speech is one. The other one is getting out of the way of business and opportunity so people can live a good life. Most people generally, if their stomach's full, if they're happy, if they can, raise a family in relative peace, then that's going to address a lot of these extremist nutbags. But how hard is it to start a business in Australia? How many costs are involved? How many times are you taxed? How much of a burden is the state putting on the average person's back so they can fund, junkets to these type of things? But don't worry, I'm sure that, that work group they have at some council office is going to just end all those radical extremists, because I guarantee, To do this, cities require a network that facilitates systematic exchange of good practice, expertise, and lessons learned. Oh boy, I wonder if they're going to learn all those lessons from London about letting people out of jail too early, hey? The SCN fulfills this need by connecting and empowering cities through its global network, regional capacity building, practitioner workshops, there you go, I told you, and online information and training hubs. So what are their principles? The SCN operates from the assumption that communities and local governments are both part of the solutions to address violent extremism. The SCN is driven by a number of fundamental principles. A commitment to address violent extremism in all its forms. A recognition that violent extremism and prevention effects should not be associated with any particular religion, nationality, or ethnic group. A commitment to work in partnership with local communities on an inclusion, collaboration, and non-discriminatory basis, and in compliance with international human rights standards. Well, the standards are already gone in Victoria now. And, I mean, here you go. Violent extremism and prevention efforts should not be associated with any particular religion, nationality, or ethnic group. Well, if you look at what poses the greatest risk of violent extremism, it's quite clear what groups do. It's quite clear what groups do. And it usually is associated with religions and political ideologies. Most of them. But no, you can't associate it with that. That's bad. You know, well, there you go. They're globalists. They're missing the entire point. So the entire strategy that they're doing here is just going to be pointless because they're not going to affect the people. They're not going to reach out to the people. Maybe the people that are socially isolated in these communities, socially isolated in these cities. Maybe they have got no chance of finding a work. You know, so where do they turn to? They turn to online and then they become radicalized. It's much easier now than it ever was for these nutters. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen them all. Look at them. Look at the issues that we've had in Sydney and in Melbourne. So it didn't save Melbourne, did it? The SCN has been established exclusively for policymakers and or practitioners operating at the city, municipal or subnational level. Membership to the network is completely free of charge. Wow, anyone can join. If you're interested in joining the Strong Cities Network and becoming a member of a global community of mayors, municipal level policymakers and practitioners united in building society, social cohesion and community resilience to counter violent extremism in all its forms, please register to become a Strong City. A team will then be able to respond and advise on the formal membership application process. So, what this is, it is the ultimate virtue signaling for a bureaucrat that wants to feel like they're making a difference, while ignoring some of the fundamental issues that are leading towards this extremism that's growing more and more around the world. I mean, they've got Sadiq Khan on the cover, guys. Now London's more violent than New York. Don't worry, he's got extra funding for Twitter police. So maybe this is why he's putting all that garbage out there. Now we know why. Why they're pushing for policing Twitter or speakers corner in the US in London. And don't forget your International Women's Day, guys. So there we have it. Melbourne, a strong city. You can see how globalists can influence us or our nations or our cities at the bureaucrat level. And this is the big issue with all of this. They shouldn't be focusing on this. I told you what the issues are. None of this is going to make a difference. You're not going to affect the violent extremists. You're only going to affect the people who want to be involved, who want to, virtue signal. Virtue signal. It's not going to make any impact. I'm skeptical of it entirely. Waste of resources, waste of money, virtue signaling by our bureaucrats. And the problem is this line of thinking, then you start to see the same thing come from government level all the way down. All the way down. It's prestige. Showing off, oh, I'm on this United Nations committee. Oh, I have to go to fly to such and such. Showing off to their friends. And then what happens? Our costs go up. Social cohesion goes down. You're criticized. You're at risk of going in to get fined or taken to court if you even dare to criticize aspects of one of their protected groups. You've got them wasting money on implementing all these programs that won't make any impact. We'll have to see, guys. We'll have to see. And this is the problem. This is why the thinking is the same. You'll see it everywhere. They go to these things. They go to their junkets. They go to their junkets. They feel important. They're not focusing on what really matters to people. Anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you think every city should be a strong city? Do you think free speech is important in dealing with radicalization? Or is it just the inevitable reality of living in modern multicultural cities, as Sadiq Khan says? Actually, do I even have that quote here? No, not anymore. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next episode.